What's up, everybody? It's the Jackal Squad's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at Jackalman, the Matty Collector Thundercats figure on loan to me from Brian Brink. We'll talk about the accessories first. His hands are another pair of holding hands. 2 holding hands come with him, 2 additional holding hands. I'm not sure why we're not getting posing hands with these figures. I'm not sure why Matty Collector hasn't assumed that we should get them, but whatever, we're not getting them. It's out. But he can hold this accessory, which is a heavily washed, it might be dry brushed, but yeah, it might be dry brushed, spear. And then we got our axe spear. It's a spear with an axe head attached to it. Gray plastic, and then the gray is cracked, and underneath you can see the blade, and the blade is all warped, and heavy dry brush silver, and that all looks really good. As you can see, he can hold that in this hand. And then he comes with this club, which, once again, might be dry brushed. And he can hold that in this hand. So I'm not really sure why we needed 2 more holding hands. Now, he holds it well in these as well. And we'll check the other hand, and we'll check the axe. Not as well. But it seems ridiculously excessive to me. But that's not the point of this review. The point of this review is this fella, so let's talk about him. I love the head sculpt once again. I love all the fur. It's all sculpted. I love the eyes. I love how they're painted. We got black, brown paint, white paint. The eyes are outlined. The color of the eye is outlined, and then the pupil have they have a glossy finish, so they're picking up light really well, and it looks good. It looks like the lighter color is dry brushed on, which looks really good. You can see the darker tones of the hair underneath, inside the crevices and such. Well done. It feels like it's on a double ball peg, but it might be a single. It has a floating piece underneath, and the paint is applied the same way, and the sculpt continues to go through. We have these 2 straps sculpted on. They're a floating piece, rather. I'm sorry. And they're actually attached to the neck piece, which then covers over the shoulder. It's a smart way to make that seem relatively seamless. I can dig it. All the paint on it is done fairly well, with the exception of where the strap and the fur meet on the back on both ends. Then we have 2 shades of gray painted here, and they're kind of willy-nilly painted as well. They don't cover the whole, like all these little balls here should be colored, so to speak, and they don't cover the whole ball, so to speak. We have disc hinge shoulders, getting you just above 90 degrees, I'd say, and then the swivel, and then the bicep swivel, and we have fur sculpted on all throughout the entire arm, which ends up looking pretty good. Single hinged elbow getting a little less than 90 degrees, but it does clean up well. We talked about that with lino. And then we have this wrist cuff, which is sculpted and painted. Wrist swivel and then hinge in and out, which is good for an accessory such as an axe or a club. I like that. And then the articulation is the same for the other side, although slightly more hindered by the shoulder pad, even though it is a softer plastic. Not much, but slight. And then it does have this bit, which is extra sculpted on and painted, kind of cheesy, but effective, with the little cheetah print. And the straps are painted fairly well. We have an ab crunch, but nothing really out of it. You get a little bit forward and a little bit back, but nothing crazy. I'm not even 100% sure why they included it if the range was going to be so limited. And you can get gap in the paint if you go up too far, but that's only if you're putting pressure on it, so it's fine. And then it looks like this paint on the chest is done differently, whereas this is dry brushed. This is painted in line work and then slightly washed with a darker color to achieve the same effect, but it is slightly different. However, I think on a shelf to the naked eye it wouldn't bother you at all. Waist swivel. And then we come down to this piece, which is a floating piece that this other pelvis piece is sitting on. No drawers, just in case you were curious. All this is sculpted and washed, so that looks good, and the belt is sculpted nicely. We have disc hinge, basically universals, for lack of a better term, for the hips as well. So they get up to here. This soft plastic gives way straight away, and then out for the full Van Damme, so no problems there. Thigh swivels built into the bottom of the makeshift universal. Single hinge knee getting you 90 degrees. Not the best range of motion, but decent sculpt. And then we have this fur sculpted throughout, and we have these anklets molded, sculpted, and painted fairly well. And then for the feet, we have an ankle tilt up to there, down to there, and then the rocker, and then the toes are sculpted extremely well and painted extremely well. And that is this figure, all in all, pretty well done. Final thoughts wise, I think this is my favorite of the Thundercats I've looked at from Matty Collector. I still have a couple issues, namely being the, I think the price and the way they're distributing them is kind of silly, but that's it's just a decision they've chosen, and that's a separate conversation, which I'm willing to have. If it, maybe on a different format or venue, but it doesn't really make sense to do it here. My main complaint with this guy, and really my only complaint with this guy, I could use for a little bit more articulation in the head to the chest, and some posing hands to give a dynamic pose, because otherwise he always looks ridiculous, and that's very frustrating to me. Very, very frustrating to me. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, the materials are good, the articulation is great, the paint is, I mean, there's a few mess-ups in the paint, but I would say the ambition of the paint is admirable, and most of the performance of the paint or the application of the paint is done extremely well. So I think that most people are either like committed to this through Matty Collector or not, but if you're trying to buy them on the secondhand market, I can say that this is a good one. This is the third one I've looked at. I'm not sure in what order they're going up. I looked at Lion-O, and then I looked at the kids, and this is definitely by far the best one I've looked at, in my opinion. Of course, my humble opinion. Or maybe not so humble. The world may never know. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. What? A skit? For this? Look, I'm not going to have a skit for everything, alright? Jackalman? Seriously?